When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
In Transit takes a look at buying a car and what we're seeing right now in this province. Now, for those of you that have tried to buy a car of late, you know what you're facing. Waiting lists, right? Out of stock. You're going to have to pay more than you thought you would because prices of vehicles have gone up as well. So it is really important now, more than ever, to know what is and isn't legal when it comes to what dealers can charge you when you are buying a car. So avoid finding yourself in a situation where you've spent thousands on fees that aren't even allowed. Joining us today to help you guide you in this process, George Iny, Director of the Automobile Protection Association. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
So what are you seeing right now in this market where sometimes people are desperate to find the vehicle that they want? What are you seeing dealerships do when it comes to fees that they should not be charging?
So in Quebec, there is a rule that applies to everything you buy. The price is supposed to be all in. So that means if you have an advertised price for a product, that's the price. Or it could be less if you got a discount. But it cannot be more. Mm-hmm. And what dealers are doing is they're adding prices on top of the advertised price, so adding extra charges. And so sometimes it's called an administration fee, a documentation fee, a green tire levy, toilettage, which is like a cleaning up the car, or a safety certification.
Uh-huh.
Most of these are bogus charges. They don't correspond to the actual cost of doing anything. Or in the case of the tire-related charges, it's a grossly marked up amount for the tire recycling fee that's like $3 a tire. You'll end up being charged $75 or $149, and they've thrown in wheel locks or something extra to confuse you. So it's an issue. I think most people just pay it, and they know that they're sort of being taken, like people are not happy about it, but you want the vehicle. And that's really the difference now. The old days, if you weren't happy with a retailer's practices, you would go see another retailer selling the same thing. You can't do that right now because there are waiting lists to buy a vehicle. And if you don't go through with the transaction, you're going to be at the back of somebody else's line waiting another 4 months, probably at a new higher price.
Yeah, and George, that's exactly the issue here, right? So back in the day, if you have multiple vehicles that are available at multiple dealerships, well, you have some bargaining power. Here, people they want that car, and they don't want to wait months and months and months. So is this a growing issue right now? Are you seeing this situation get worse and worse?
Well, I tell you, because of the shortages, yes. Probably hardly a day goes by without someone telling us, look, either the price of the car changed between when we signed for it and when it came in, or we had one recently. They added because they say all deliveries after September get the winter package, so $721 for rubberized floor mats and a case for your sunglasses.
Wow.
That's for a Volvo dealer.
Okay. So George,
people are just paying because they want a vehicle.
So George, what does a consumer do to make sure you're in that process? You're at the dealership. You're gonna buy the car. They're tacking on these fees. How do you stand your ground and point out the laws of Quebec and hope that they don't say, "Oh, geez, the car's not available anymore. Sorry." Like, so how does a consumer faced in that position get their way?
They don't, unless you want to go to court. And in that case, the better answer would be at least get some exchanges in writing. Using text or ideally email to get them to commit and explain why the charges are there. In some cases, it is beyond the dealer's control. It was a manufacturer's price increase that they're sending to you. But even in that case, they're probably not allowed to do it, but at least it's an explanation that is a little more reasonable. And if you have that, then you probably would pay for the vehicle. In some cases, when they're really egregious, the dealers might remove one of two charges. For example, if they're hitting you with a credit application fee for financing, or if they're insisting that you take financing, which some dealers are because they want to get the commission from the bank,
Yep.
then in that case, you might ask for a small reduction of the price because you're going to be paying more interest on a loan that you weren't planning to take. So you try and work something out. That's probably the easiest way around. If the difference is more than $1,000 or $1,500 and you really don't want to take it sitting down, then it would be something you would claim in small claims court. And I guarantee you, I mean, I cannot guarantee the outcome of a court decision, but
Yeah.
judges are also unhappy when they see cases like this where increases are just arbitrary.
So, George, for someone that really wants that car, with Giorgini, director of the Automobile Protection Association, if someone, they know there's limited amounts of stock, they really want that car, a tactic, and like you said, you can never know how a court case will go, but a tactic could be eat it, pay those extra fees, document everything, and then get all that money back thanks to a court ruling later. That could be a strategy.
Right, and it could take 2 years. Now, there is a class action that has been taken against dealers over extra charges. These were not COVID-related. They were already existing, and you might possibly contact the firm. It's Lambert and Associates and see. But if you are in that case, you won't see money for a good long, you could be 5 to 10 years out before those cases are resolved, or take an individual action. And we can certainly help in a case like that. But most people, it's just too much hassle. So they kind of work something out with the dealer, and that's all right. Or they just take it on the chin and pay the full amount.
Georgia, I'm happy you brought up financing before, because I have seen some stories of because dealers and car manufacturers make money off the financing, right? So I've seen some.
Well, yes and no, because the car makers until recently were offering subsidized rates when they had too many cars. And interest rates are lower. There were many manufacturers that were offering 0% or 1.9% up to 84 months. In that case, they might have been buying the rate down. So they actually have some skin in the game. But when a dealer finances you through a bank, it's a different story. They're receiving a cut under the table, and it's a bounty because the bank doesn't just pay them a flat fee, which would be the right thing for the work they're doing. They pay them more if the dealer hikes up the interest rate higher than the lowest rate they're able to offer you.
Oh, so this is very interesting, and I guess I would imagine this is why I've seen some stories of dealers charging extra fees if you want to pay cash.
Yeah, so that's illegal because they didn't tell you that when you signed. They just assumed they would be able to bump you into financing. And what we used to tell people, because it existed before COVID, before vehicle shortages, is look, if they want you to keep the loan for 6 months, so it's called, because you can pay off a consumer loan any time, and they're worried that you would, because then the commission would be charged back. So if they want to wait until what's called the loan is vested, so in other words, their commission is locked in, it's usually 6 months. Some banks have now seen the trick, so they're actually asking you to keep the loan for a year before you can pay it back.
Gotcha.
In the old days, when dealers did this, when they wanted to pocket the commission, they would cut you a reduction on the price of the vehicle, equivalent to the amount of interest you'd be paying. Today, many of them are not even doing that. And you have to hold the loan sometimes for 6 months, so there is a penalty to that, and they should be willing to, if they're collecting money, kind of in a slippery way, then they should be willing to at least give you a break for the extra that it'll cost you for a service you didn't want.
So, George, just to wrap up here, we began you talking about, the law here in Quebec and that advertised price, right? So if you end up trying to buy a car based on an advertisement that you saw, whether it's on the web or it's in a newspaper, you hang on to that advertisement for dear life, right? Because in this province, they've got to honor it.
Screenshot or print, absolutely that. In fact, it's what you should go in with when you're shopping if you know that that's what you want. In many cases, unfortunately, you go in for one thing, but you leave with something else because they don't have exactly what you're looking for. But if you are ordering a vehicle, and the other problem, of course, with the advertising, there's very little of it compared to before, but it's usually for a vehicle that's not available. So you're going to go in for an ad with a price on it, and they're going to say it was sold. So That vehicle may have existed, but it was never freely available for you to buy it.
Well, George,
That's really the issue. It was already sold a few days ago and the ad's still running. So they will move you into something else. But you are still entitled to an all-in price. If there is manufacturer advertising for the same vehicle, you should go to their website. The dealer cannot sell for more than that price. That's the rule in Quebec.
George, thanks very much for coming on the show. A lot of information that our listeners can arm themselves with so that they get a fair deal when buying a car. Appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome.
That's George Iny, director of the Automobile Protection Association, the APA.